This is DLFM Online Radio Station Chicago. Dimensión Latina FM Radio TV. Baja nuestra aplicación a través de tu iPhone o Android. Búscanos como Dímela FM. Búscanos en TuneIn Radio como Dimensión Latina FM y visita nuestra página web dimelafm.com.
Y ahora Dimensión Latina FM, tu radio por internet, presenta programación en vivo. Estaremos transmitiendo a través del Facebook Live. ¡Comenzamos!
Dimensión Latina FM, tu radio por internet presenta Alas de Amor. Un programa con enfoque en los niños y jóvenes para la salud y bienestar de ellos y sus familias. Conducido por ELSA PRADO. Bienvenidos.
PRADO, and today's episode of Wings of Love is going to be a great program because we have one of our community leaders, Commissioner Jessica VASQUEZ, who is with us today, and she's going to be kind of giving us a briefing on all the different things that we got going on in the city. As you know, we are broadcasting live, Facebook, and this is through Dimensión Latina in Chicago. So welcome to the program, Jessica. And we have our little guy over here who wanted to visit us as well.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. I'm Commissioner VASQUEZ, 8th District, all within the city of Chicago, 8th District, Cook County. This is Colasi, my cat.
Okay, Colasi's our little guest that decided to join us. Well, anyway, let me tell you a little bit about Commissioner VASQUEZ. She is born and raised in Chicago, and she's the daughter of Colombian parents, raised on the northwest side in Belmont-Cragen neighborhood. She was appointed 8th District Cook County Commissioner on May 4th of 2025 this year. And so far, she's been very instrumental as a public servant with housing, public infrastructure, and also in the area of education. She holds a BA in political science from DePaul University and a master's from the University of Chicago in social sciences. Welcome to the program, and thank you so much for giving us your time today, because we know that ever since you started, you've been very, very busy.
Yes. Super happy to be here. Thank you for having me. Just this evening, we were having a property tax appeals workshop in our office for the West Chicago Township. And so, busy every night, but love it.
Yes, but housing is a huge a subject to cover. So tell us a little bit about your work in housing, because we do know that for one, I guess taxes are late right now.
Yes.
Right. And there's things going on, but as a community servant, both of us serving our communities, we want to bring this up. We want to let our communities know, there's stuff going on that, who else better than one of our own commissioners to talk about these subjects. And let's talk housing. Let's talk like what's going on with property taxes and those basics.
Yes. And so when we think about housing access, housing justice, I think it's important, as you said, to look at property taxes, but then also to look at how are we able to access affordable housing for our renters too.
Yes.
And so as you mentioned, property taxes are late. This is in large part due to a contract that Cook County has with an entity called Tyler Technologies, which has just been very difficult to work with. And you will likely hear a lot about Tyler Technologies from the Treasurer's Office, from the President's Office, and from our assessor. But, you know, in county, when we think about ways to make housing more affordable, property taxes is one of the things we should be thinking about at the beginning. We have so many Latino families that purchased their homes in the 80s, 70s, or even in the 90s.
Right.
They paid off their mortgages, but now it's the property taxes that make it really hard for them to stay in the neighborhood. And so one of the things that I'm looking forward to do currently as Cook County Commissioner is to make that property tax appeal process a lot more transparent and accessible for our community. We know statistically that Latino and Black families are less likely to appeal their property taxes than well-off families and white families. I think that is in large portion because a lot of our forms and a lot of the public education has been mainly in English. And so it's very technical in English. So if you're having a hard time, yes, and if that's your second language, you know, forget it, right? It's hard to access. So one of the things that I'm really looking forward to doing, and one of the things that I have already started doing, is making sure that our appeals are accessible to our residents. I've had some mobile appeals events in West Chicago, which is currently open for appeals, with the 26th Ward Alderman's office, Jesse Fuentes' office in Humboldt Park. We've also had appeals events in the 1st Ward with Daniel Espada, and we had one tonight for West Chicago. And so making the process that's already available for the townships that are open, accessible, and easy to understand. All of my staff are bilingual, by the way, Spanish and English.
Excellent. Right,
yes.
Right.
How would
our community members access your office if like they needed to just inquire a little bit more about the appeals?
Yeah, so please call my office to get information or sign up for our newsletter. The best way to do that is you can sign up for my newsletter at my website, commissionervasquez.org. But I do want to let folks know, you know, we get notified when a township's open in real time. So every day I have my staff refreshing the assessor's website so that we can know as soon as it is open to let our constituents know to come by and get your appeals. And so we're checking it every day for Jefferson Township, which is like the largest township within our district, to make sure that folks know. And then we do all of our workshops, Spanish and English, so that folks can access the information. And then we do one-by-one appeals. So we do a presentation, but then we sit down individually and we go over the appeals process.
Oh, excellent. Are you guys doing any of these in Spanish at this time? Any of these workshops?
Yeah, so all of our workshops are fully bilingual, and we take the cases also monolingual Spanish too. So if there's a señora or a family who has a very difficult case, or they want to just do one-on-one, they don't have to sit for the presentation. You just want to go through the appeals process. We'll sit down with you and we'll go through it.
Okay, like on an individual basis, correct?
Yes, on an individual basis.
Okay, that's excellent. Así que para los que están buscando una asesoría con los impuestos, los de su propiedad, asistan a la oficina de la comisionada Jessica Vázquez para que les puedan ayudar. Les pueden ayudar individualmente también si desean ustedes una asesoría con los impuestos de su propiedad. Well, yeah, I mean, I think that is something that's going to be very beneficial because once we start helping people get more educated on the process, then they won't be suffering as much.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, once they know, okay, these are the dates that you can go and request an appeal, and they start getting initiated in the process, and this is what you do, these are the steps involved. Definitely, I think that our community, the Latino, Hispanic community, will have a better outcome with their housing situation.
Yeah, and I think what's really important is, so like I said, we are working within the current system that we have, but then we're also fighting to make the system better.
Right.
And so one of the things that we're looking to do is this summer, we hope to have this relief fund open up.
Okay.
Because there is so much need for property tax relief. I do think that the money's going to go very quickly. But once we have this relief fund available, we're going to canvass and make sure that the neighborhoods, the Latino families in the 8th district know that a relief fund has been open. And what it will do is it will provide cash assistance for property taxes.
Mm-hmm.
It is going to be income based, and we're waiting for the details on those limits. But as soon as that is available, I want all of the 8th district families who qualify to take advantage of that. And that, I think, is part of a larger goal that we have on the county board is let's have this pilot relief program, but then let's build out more relief for our residents around property taxes while we lobby the state to make structural and systemic changes to the way we have our property tax system in the state.
Yes, I really believe our community is very impacted at this time, especially with all of the benefits that now have been taken away from people, because a lot of people I know, like you said, have paid their homes off, but yet they were on a pretty much limited income, or the source of their income, possibly has now been either taken away from them or really reduced.
Absolutely. There's a lot of folks that are in a fixed income for different reasons, whether you're now a senior or you have a disability. The cost of living, we know, is really high. And so in addition to appeals, there's also a couple of exemptions that people might qualify for. And so we also look into what exemptions you currently have on file and which ones you can apply for so that you're appealing your taxes and you're getting the exemptions to freeze your taxes or to cut back on the cost.
I had heard that they were somehow trying to pass a bill so that people over 65 would not have to pay taxes, property taxes. How is that going, or where are we with that?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I do think that property taxes have taken a back seat in Springfield right now.
Okay.
I've talked to every state representative that I have in my district to let them know that that is like a top issue. I'm sure a lot of people have heard that transportation has kind of taken like a big focus from our state legislators right now because the CTA and the Metra are facing a fiscal cliff. And so legislators will be going back to Springfield. I've communicated to all of them that I want to see property tax reform. And so in addition to the bill that you mentioned, I do think it'll be really hard to pass a bill like that because I know in the 8th district, folks really need it, but Cook County and the state is massive. And it's really hard to get, folks downstate to feel like the burden is the same or that it needs to change because the way that they incur these taxes are very different. In Chicago, our property taxes are calculated based on the house that's sold down the block.
Right.
And so for us, we're living in neighborhoods where we're seeing housing prices go up a lot. Yes. And it's making our property taxes very high. But in other parts of the state, in the Southland, they're seeing the opposite. They're seeing their property values going down. And so because their property values are going down, their taxes aren't as high. And so there is definitely a suburban exurb city divide that I think makes it hard to pass legislation like that. But one of the things that I've been telling folks is like, okay, let's at least increase the amounts that people for the senior freeze can qualify for because the amount hasn't been changed for over a decade. And so, we know that right now, like people are making more money, but that doesn't make them wealthy.
No, exactly.
10 years ago, making $50,000 meant a lot more than it does now.
Exactly.
And so at minimum, we need to increase the limit so that more seniors can qualify for a senior freeze.
Exactly. Do you think it's something that could happen or it's just something that they're putting on the wayside at this time?
I think that my personal opinion, I think transportation is taking up the spotlight right now. And so I think it is something that's going to take another cycle. But I will say increasing the limit for seniors, I do think that that is something that can pass.
Okay.
Yeah, and so my hope is if we can't get it done during this special session coming up, like let's get it done as soon as possible. Because I do think that, you know, we need it, especially in the 8th district.
Right. I mean, between seniors and veterans, you know what I mean? It's like kind of weighing evenly. How can veterans also be assisted? I just feel like as of late, they're just getting a bad rap all around. They're not, I mean, they're being denied housing, they're being denied benefits, they're being denied all kinds of things, very similar to seniors.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think what's really difficult and hard to comprehend is, you know, this administration, this federal administration, this Trump presidency, like how could they do this to our veterans?
Exactly, right?
Unbelievable.
They serve their country.
Yes, they serve their country, and we're not giving them anything in return. And a lot of them have, you know, committed many big sacrifices in order to protect us. And so I know with property taxes, you know, veterans do qualify for some exemptions, but of course, like with everything, there's, you know, limits and there's cases. And so if you have certain disabilities, you are able to qualify for a much lower tax rate. Right. And in some instances, your taxes get frozen. Okay. And so please come to my office. We also have monthly veteran assistance with the VA office in the district office as well. So we don't have to just talk taxes. We can talk about all the veteran benefits.
Excellent. I love that. I love that you're talking about that. The other thing I did want to see if we could touch on is this situation with immigration. I mean, it's getting out of hand, out of control. It's just separating families, just making the life of the, you know, Latino families hell on earth, basically. You know what I mean? And it almost feels like like a genocide, because it's like they're just ripping people away. And in some cases, as I have seen myself, they're literally like getting abducted out of the state. You know, these agents are not really identifying themselves. They're just picking people up and taking them away.
Yeah, no, it's horrible, and I've never seen anything like this. I used to work at the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights.
Yes.
So I remember doing a lot of deportation defense work when I was there. But what we're witnessing right now and what we're seeing across the country, it's
like insane, right? Yeah. It's like off the charts. Yeah. It's like, who would ever even imagine that things would get to this level and for us to be in this place that we are in now? I mean, what do you think are you seeing that could possibly assist or help with this?
Yeah, so I think what I've seen as the most effective use to protect each other is, number one, knowing your rights. And so I was actually very proud that at the beginning of President Trump's term, he had his folks in Illinois, and you had Tom Homan saying, people aren't opening their doors, they're too educated. I thought that was fantastic.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
It's beautiful. Yes.
And keep spreading the word, you know.
Yes.
And that's what my thinking is as well. You know, lock your doors. You don't have to open the door for anybody.
You don't have to open the door for anybody, and you also have rights, right? So
yes,
they are supposed to present you with a judicial warrant, and so you're supposed to see one. If they don't have a warrant and they're not identifying themselves, you know, don't go. Don't open the door. Don't let them in. They have to ask you to be let in, and it is your right on your private property to not let them to do so. The other thing is, you know, making sure that you're talking to your neighbors. I think one of the things that makes knowing your rights a little bit difficult is, you know, we are seeing on Facebook, we are seeing in a lot of social media, people putting up sites, like they've seen ICE, they think ICE is here, they think ICE is there. And sometimes these are verified, but sometimes they're not. Right. And I think, you know, knowing your rights is good, but share the knowledge of these rights with your neighbors so that they know what they should do if they do think they see an ICE agent, and how to interact with folks if they can, interact with people on their behalf. And so one of the best ways to get involved beyond just knowing your own rights is to working with a local rapid response team.
Yeah.
I'm a part of a rapid response team on the northwest side. So when we see an ICE sighting, we go out and we check to see if it's a verified ICE sighting. And if somebody has been taken, we work with the family to provide legal resources and mutual support. And this is all through the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights, as well as the Resurrection Project and Organized Communities Against Deportation. And so they have legal resources and they have mutual aid networks that we can plug folks into. So I think it's really important to know your rights, memorize the Family Support Network and hotline number. And then if you are able to, if you are a citizen or if someone wants to help, like get involved with your local rapid response. Because I do think that we have some strong protections here in the state of Illinois.
Yes.
But we're seeing these ICE agents being creative, right?
Oh, absolutely.
They're being creative and they're being violent. They're smashing people's car windows to take them out, And so we need to make sure that we have eyes on our streets, eyes in our neighborhood. We need to protect each other. And so one of the ways of doing that is by plugging into rapid response. On the legislative end, I know we're working at the county level to make sure that we get notice when ICE agents are interacting with county individuals in county buildings. Because it is really important for us as elected officials to also say, this information is correct, this incident actually happened, this was not true, because we have a lot of fear in our community, and that fear sometimes,
yes, we do.
And
people are very scared.
Yeah, they're very scared, and some people are missing their doctor's visits, they're missing work because they're scared. But we have a sanctuary city, we have a sanctuary state, and so we're doing our work as legislators to make sure that we're getting proper notice and protocols in place, so that if there is anything like what we're seeing in LA or in New York, like we'll be able to get ahead of that and notify our communities.
What do you think is the biggest problem in LA right now?
I mean, it's hard. I think what the president is trying to do is they're trying to make an example of LA. And so they're using our tax money to ship more and more ICE agents, to put out the National Guard. And again, this is the money that our taxes
exactly. We're paying for all this nonsense that he's doing.
Yeah.
And that's the part I can't wrap my head around. I'm like, why are we having to pay all these taxes? And people don't understand that the tariffs are also a tax, and that all of these added taxes are coming from our paychecks.
Well, yeah, the billionaires just got a pay, they
just got a huge raise.
Yeah, they just got a huge raise. And in the meantime, we got an increase in our taxes. But I think for me, part of the reason why I'm really proud of the work that we're doing in Chicago is because we've had a really tight network, and we've had a really good coalition of organizers in the city. Yes. And so we've been able to get ahead of a lot of incidents. So for example, we had ICE agents come to the Humboldt Park, Barrio Fest, or a couple days before Barrio Fest. We were able to organize the community to protect the fest. They also threatened the Gran Festival Colombiano. We were able to organize people to protect the fest. So we're a very proactive city. I think what is happening in LA right now is, they also have organizers, they also have a structure there, but they are just being pummeled with a full force of federal agents over there. Because what they're trying to do is they're trying to intimidate our communities in other states.
Exactly.
And so I think, for them, it's a matter of, can they overwhelm and intimidate people to the point that LA will, fold? I don't think so. I mean, LA is still standing strong. Their elected officials are still standing strong. So we'll see, but we're keeping very close eye on what's happening in LA so that we can learn what's happening
from whatever's going on, right?
Exactly. And make sure that we don't have a repeat of some of what we've seen in LA here in Chicago.
That's true. I agree with you 100% on that. And, it's just too much,
Yeah.
what I mean, is there a bill that could be put together to put like a limit, like a boundary on ICE and this magnitude of insanity that it's creating on the population?
Yeah, I think we're thinking creatively about ways to do that to protect our public buildings. What makes it difficult, I think, is so we have the Trust Act in the state of Illinois,
Right.
which says that you cannot, like, our officers are not working with ICE. Like, we do not proactively give them information. We don't work with them in that way. There are some carve-outs where if there are certain criminal warrants, then the Illinois State Police or, the Chicago Police District, different folks can give some information, but only for a specific individual. But overall, we have those protections already in place. What we're seeing from this administration is they're, one, suing us for that legislation, but then I think they're also, like I said, they're seeing what they can get away with, right? And so, they're not working with our Chicago police officers when they bust a window into someone's car to pull them out.
That's what I'm saying. There has to be like some kind of lawsuit that we can come up with, to counteract all the damage, because it is a lot of damage that they're creating, it's literally criminal damage to property, what they're doing to some people.
Yeah, we did countersue. So we are countersuing, and we're hoping, to get a positive outcome with that. You may have heard that our case, there is going to be an appeal, but I think it was just last week, a judge in Illinois ruled that the Trust Act is good, that we are not in violation.
Right.
We do think the federal government's going to appeal, so we'll see what happens with that. But I think, we are looking at ways of, one, we're countersuing, but then it's also, okay, how can we protect spaces? We have this existing legislation that protects the interactions between different law enforcements, but how do we start protecting these public spaces? Because they're coming into public spaces with or without the permission of other individuals.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's just crazy, you have to, every angle, they're coming in at every possible angle, and they're throwing wrenches literally into everything, so that, people are kind of taken, off guard more than anything. And I think, we're looking at very vulnerable locations. So, for example, Representative Lillian Jimenez and Senator Graciela Guzman, they recently passed the Safe Schools bill. And so hoping that the governor will sign it soon. And what that will do is it'll make it so that if there are federal agents trying to get into the school, we have a process, we have funds dedicated to protect those kids. Right.
Because we have seen early on when this all happened, like I think it was in Pilsen, we saw some ICE agents try to get into a school. And so we're trying to protect our schools, we're trying to protect our courts, we're trying to protect our public places. And I think as we start seeing more success with these types of legislation, we can start looking at some of the other ways that ICE is trying to, detain folks and get around it.
Right, exactly. And then the other, finally here, I also want to touch on healthcare.
Yes.
What's going to happen in Illinois with healthcare? Because it's a huge issue concerning, especially, the elderly, the children, the most vulnerable are disabled. We're looking at our most vulnerable getting, their healthcare ripped away from them. How is that being worked, or what's taking place there? Because it's like, what are people going to do? Are we just going to have a pileup of ill people? Because if you can't have access to basic medical preventive care, that's going to cost a lot.
Yeah, no, it is. And medical debt is one of the things that can create a cycle of poverty. We all have it. And
we all have some medical
generational
debt.
Poverty.
Yeah.
And so it's really important to make sure that we have healthcare access, because like you said, it's not only something that stays with you in terms of debt, but then it's also something that can impact your employment. It can impact your education. And so it's key to have that access. As we know, at the federal level, we're seeing very deep cuts, not just to Medicare, but also Medicaid. And then the state also cut healthcare coverage for immigrant adults earlier this year.
Because it was the one thing that I thought, well, this is great, because it will help the immigrant families, to work things through until they do get, what was back in, just last year. People were working towards, through TPS, they were working on documentation, work permits, solidifying their visas, their passports, and all of the stuff that they were working on. It kind of all came crashing down like a horrible roof over them. And it's like, now what do these people do?
Yeah, no, I think for us, county care is going to be extremely important. And so, most folks who are losing their healthcare coverage, the one place that they can go where they can still get the services is going to be county. So we have our CareLink program. We have our clinic in the 8th District, the Belmont-Cragen clinic, health clinic. And so folks will be able to access services there. Again, these programs are income-based. And so there are different tiers for folks.
Okay.
So, based on your income, you can get a portion of your coverage of your, bill covered, 50%. If you are of a lower income, there's a chance you can get all of your services covered. But we are coming up on our budget cycle for Cook County. And one of the things that's going to be really important for me is that we invest in county care, because we need to make sure that folks are still able to access their health care. We're going to be paying for it down the road if we don't have healthcare access for individuals.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're going to lose our small businesses if we don't have healthcare coverage for their workers. We're going to lose, our youth who are going to school, trying to educate themselves if they're not able to go to school and pay attention because they're sick. Healthcare is so fundamental to making sure we have a thriving society, a thriving economy. And so for me, making sure we have investments in Cook County Health in this next budget are a way in which we can make up for the loss that we are seeing, but then also invest in the community for the couple of years to come.
Exactly. No, it's absolutely it's imperative. That's something that we can't mess around with. It just is so needed. And it's such a basic element for everybody that I'm really happy to hear, that there is something in place that you guys are working on it, because at this point, I'm sure so many people have doubts, because literally it just feels like, like we just were thrown into the tunnel and we're like doing circles into nowhere land. None of us know where we're going to fall at this point. It's very unstable at this time for a vast majority of our community, especially the people that right now are having family relatives that are now being, abducted, because basically that's what it is. They're being abducted by ICE. And some of these families, it's like, the breadwinner's gone. Or mom is a single mom and now she's got snatched away. And, what are we going to do? We're going to have all these families split up. And, if we thought there was poverty, this only increases the incident of poverty.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I also want to recognize the mental health trauma that occurs when a family is separated. And that does manifest physically in your body. It's not just a memory. And so our communities that are targeted, that are feeling this devastation, like county care is a resource that they can turn to. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like, it's not the solution. It is a avenue that we currently have. I would like to see healthcare for everybody. Universal healthcare. That's the goal. And so while we weather through this administration and, use the current avenues that we have, we need to fight for the absolute best. We need to fight for universal healthcare. We need to fight for fully funding our hospitals and clinics, and access for everyone.
Exactly.
Access for everyone, regardless of their status.
Exactly. I agree there. I just got to say, we're running out of time, and I always hate, when it's wrap up time, because we're just like getting into all of the different subjects that are really critical right now at this juncture. I mean, we are at a point right now where I'm sure most of us will wake up tomorrow and just try to figure out, okay, what's he going to do? Because that's how it's been, since January 20th. Took place. So it's kind of been really like a emotional turmoil, emotional roller coaster of a year for a good majority of us, that are watching our families, have all these different issues that where we were fine last year, now everything's up in the air, and a lot of people don't know what direction they're going into. So I'm really glad, to see leaders, like you, taking on that lead role and making something happen, for a lot of us, because really we really need right now all our leaders in the community to really take a stand and not be afraid and rise up, because it's not gonna get any better for us until they figure out that people are not going to be subjected to this type of emotional abuse, which is exactly what's happening to our country. Everybody's getting this abuse that really is totally unnecessary. I cannot believe that our president cannot sit down and write some kind of a reform, an immigration reform, which just goes to show me that the intentions are other than actually taking care of the citizens that live in this country. Absolutely. And the people who have lived here and worked and paid taxes, they need a pathway to citizenship. Absolutely. Exactly. Exactly. I totally feel it, when I see what I see every day at work. So I thank you so very much for giving us your time and for telling us all of this information, for, enlightening us tonight, and just giving us this time to really, for a lot of people, just to get a grasp on what's going on right now. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for all of the work that you do to make sure that our communities are hearing about what's happening locally. That's super important. And right now they want to shut media up too. They don't want us to talk about these subjects. They don't want us to say, this is what's going on at this time, and it's sad. It's really, really sad time for the whole country right now and what we're going through, but we have to have communications open, and we need to inform our community as best as we can, to have people understand and know that there are people working behind the scenes and trying to get things done. So that's why I just have to say thank you so much for all the work that you're doing, and that you're really coming on strong, and you're a good leader. And let's hope that you stay strong for all of us that need your leadership at this time, because I'm sure it's not an easy road, and you have moments, the very frustrating moments that a lot of people are experiencing at this time. Yeah, no, I'm committed 100%. So thank you. Appreciate the support. Thank you so much, Commissioner Vasquez. And I hope that if there's anything else down the road that you feel is really important to communicate to our community, just let us know, and we will have you back. You'll always be welcome to come back, and then, we can keep on with another segment of updates for our community. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for being here with us tonight, and to all of our audience. We've been broadcasting live through Dimensión Latina, and we are always working towards our community and the well-being of our families and our children. So we'll say goodbye for now. Until next time. Thank you so much once again. Everyone have a good night and blessings.
aquí llegamos con nuestra programación en vivo. Gracias por tu sintonía. Dimensión Latina FM, tu radio